Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We have to wait one more minute. Our meeting has to start right at 7 o'clock. It can't start early. So we have one more minute, and we'll be ready to go. Thank you for your patience. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Since 6 p.m. this evening, this Board of Education has been in closed session for purposes of duly closed meeting minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular district has been filed or pending before a court or administrative tribunal, collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, and finally, student disciplinary cases. So with that, I will ask for a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to come out of closed. All in favor?
Aye.
And thank you so much. Motion carries. And just to remind everyone that's here, thank you for being here, and those that are watching us on the World Wide Web, welcome you all. Welcome to all of you this evening, and to remind you of our mission that we live every day: to educate students to be self-directed learners, collaborative workers, complex thinkers, quality producers, and community contributors. And with that, I will ask Ms. Bell for a roll call, please.
Student ambassadors present: Kyle Haskey, Bryce Dunlap. Board members present: Susan Crotty, Susan Price, Terry Fielden, Jackie Romberg, Kristen Fitzgerald, Mike Yench, and Donna Wackey.
Thank you so much. And with that, as you're able to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we have our elementary, Prairie Elementary, and some wonderful students here to help us this evening.
Here, come towards the middle. Come here. We'll put you right in the middle. Perfect. Can you do any of these work? Good evening. I'm Tracy Dvorak, and I'm the principal at Prairie School. And I am honored to bring our kindergarten class to you today. This is Mrs. Getz's kindergarten class. She's over there, as well as her instructional assistant, Mrs. Atkins. Our kindergartners are thrilled to come and say the pledge for you today, and they would all like to introduce themselves.
Gabe, Van, Jenna, Kate, Winnie, Sophia, Hannah, Juliet, Charlie, Caden, Logan, Katie, Eason, Sophia, John, Leo, Cole, Jack, and Luca.
And Luca has something for Mrs. Romberg. This is a book that they have made. They've done a little writing project thanking you for all of your hard work. And this is just how we do the pledge at Prairie School. You get to come down if it's your birthday, and you get to introduce yourself to the school. And then we have a moment of silence. And then we get ready for the pledge. So let's get ready for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And remember,
Never stop learning.
and that's how we end every day. Thank you for having us.
So, with the number of people here, this might get a little clunky, but we always want to make sure our parents have a great opportunity to get a good picture So if you'd like to come forward into the open area between the tables to make sure you get a good picture, please feel free to do that. Parents will just hold while you do that.
I see my dad. I see your brother, Mrs. Atkins. And my brother taking the picture.
Get in.
Come on in my book. I'm going to cry. Susan, give your camera.
How cute is that?
I know.
Hey, I
One more camera coming up.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. We have to wait for a prairie picture.
One more camera. Smile, there's another camera.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will share this book with all the board members. We'll all take turns. We'll take turns.
Wait, do we get to take pictures on the board?
Yeah. Do you want some more pictures? Okay, we'll take. Could somebody take some extra pictures? Oh my God.
One more time. Good?
Thank you so much. What a thank you very much. Wonderful to meet you. Wonderful to meet you. Wonderful to meet you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How are you? Oh, you're such a sweetheart. Thank you. I'm going to share this, but I'll make sure it gets back to me to put in a big case somewhere. Oh my goodness. This is my chair. Oh, the group kind of cleared out a little bit. Oh goodness, goodness, goodness. Great crowd. Thank you everyone for your patience there. Good news. Another huge favorite part of our evening.
We do have great news, and we'd like to begin this evening's good news with recognizing 3 students from Washington Junior High School. One of my favorite things to do is to recognize achievements of our students that are not necessarily always in our classroom. Pretty soon we'll be giving the board a report on one way we assess and measure the performance of our students, but another way we like to look at our students' performances through the eyes of our mission statement and students who lived the mission in their actions in the classroom, throughout the school, and then throughout the greater community. So we're going to recognize 3 Washington students tonight. I believe Alex is not here. Did Alex make it? Alex did make it. Fantastic. Alex, would you come forward? So Alex Morris is an 8th grader at Washington Junior High School, and I don't bite. You can come a little closer. There we go. Okay. And so Alex was highlighted in the December 30 article in the Naperville Sun for her successful efforts in August putting together a 5K run walk to raise funds for the Celiac Disease Foundation. Such an endeavor is a challenge for even the most capable adult, but Alex's passion for bringing the issue of celiac disease to light and helping in finding a cure. Alex was the point person in her family in terms of making the 5K at Donata Forest Preserve a hit, raising over $9,000 for the foundation. Alex's passion to do more than simply come to terms with celiac in her own life shows that she's a true community contributor, so we recognize Alex tonight for being a community contributor. Come on up if you want to. And then how about Courtney and Hallie? had it right. Okay. So Courtney and Hallie are 8th graders at Washington Junior High School also. Courtney and Hallie represent community contributors in our partnership with community institutions too. Courtney and Hallie, who were volunteering on a Friday night at the DuPage Children's Museum as part of Washington's Service Matters Club, were witnessed by another District 203 staff member, Katie O'Boyle, who was at the museum with her own kids. And over a 20-minute exchange, with her own kids. Over a 20-minute exchange with a young boy who was curious and insistent and sometimes challenging, Katie observed Courtney and Hallie be engaging, patient, kind, and empathetic. Specifically, Ms. O'Boyle wrote that Courtney and Hallie show us the best of what people can be. They contributed to our community a reminder of how we all should act. She is proud to work in a district that educates these young women, and she is proud to live in a town that helped raise them. So she's humbled by who they are, especially when no one is watching. And we are proud tonight to recognize Courtney and Hallie for being community contributors. Congratulations. So here to honor the girls this evening also, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Principal Candy and Assistant Principal DeCipio for all of your hard work at your school and wonderful community contributors you have to work with every day. Great job and great work at Washington. Way to go, Wildcats. So we have honored through the pledge our youngest, well, it's almost youngest learners, middle learners, and now our older learners. We're going to recognize some fantastic adults who have demonstrated the commitment to continued lifelong learning. Congratulations to the 2015 National Board Certified Teachers. National Board Certification by the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards is one of the most prestigious credentials a teacher can earn. Those who achieve the status of National Board Certified Teacher have met rigorous standards through intensive study, expert evaluation, self-assessment, and peer review. To date, about 80 teachers who are currently employed by District 203 have earned National Board Certification, and they join 82,000 teachers throughout the country who have achieved the mark of excellence. And tonight we're going to recognize first-time recipients and then also those who have renewed their certificate. And I'm going to ask Deputy Superintendent Kane Osborne to help me hand these out as I call names up, because with a group, what we're going to ask you to do is just like our kindergarten students modeled so well. After you receive your certificate, you're going to go out that door and go stand on our stage for a nice picture. So I'd like to first acknowledge the leaders for the cohort for mentoring. If they're here, I saw Ann for sure, Ann Shinsky, Dave Carroll, and Kathy Keddick. Are you all here? Okay. Great. And so tonight we welcome the following 3 new National Board Certified Teachers. Daniel Olendies, couldn't make it. That's all right. Lauren Iwanek. Congratulations. And Donald Stinson. And then we would like to offer congratulations and recognize the following teachers who earned their National Board Certification renewal. Sharon Ferrari. Congratulations. Sandra Frost. Jennifer Nicolini. Susan Tarson. Careful on visiting her class. She makes you sing with the kids. Congratulations.
So you'll have to pick up.
Christine Bell. too much time with this one. You have to run too far. And Lynn Hens. It's an honor to recognize such a great group of teachers and professionals who have committed the extra time necessary to go above and beyond to receive such certification. Truly, they do so to improve themselves and the work that they do with their kids, and we're honored to have you as a part of our staff. So congratulations. If you'll pose for a few pictures, and I don't know if you brought audience members who'd like to come forward too, please feel free to do so.
We love good news, and we have, I guess, you're welcome to stay. We understand that everyone has very busy schedules. If you need to leave, and you can watch us online tomorrow, later on this evening, we're respectful of your time. Stay if you can, and we understand if you can't. So with that, I'm sorry? Yeah, after consent. And with this is our public comment period of our meeting that we have in every open meeting, every meeting we have, every public meeting. And just to, I don't have any slips of anybody that wishes to speak unless you're in the audience and you have decided you'd like to speak. We'd love to hear from you. If you're an individual, you have 3 minutes, and representing your group, 5 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience that wanted to speak in public comment? Okie doke. With that, we will go on to our student ambassador reports. Merce. Please go ahead.
Get that out of the way. All right. So recently, student government, we had a administrative liaison meeting with Mr. Pops, where we discussed some student concerns we saw around the school. One of the concerns that we voiced was like the plowing of the senior lot during like those snow days, especially, and then also. We had scheduled our 90s dance on the Friday of like the cold week. So we had like we were on and off with it. Like we canceled it at one point and then decided to put it back on. So we were kind of skeptical how that was going to go. But it turned out to be great. We had a pretty good turnout of kids and it was a lot of fun.
It was kind of old music. Yeah.
Pretty old.
Ancient. Yeah.
I think he called it throwback last year.
I did.
And I'm glad I could help the North kids by ensuring that it took place on the date it was scheduled. I'm pleased to have supported you with ensuring that our calendar stayed intact.
But also, Team 203 will be playing tomorrow in the Pack the Gym game. So hopefully a large amount of students with the Red Hawk Rowdies and the Dog Pound will be coming out to support them at 7:30 at North. And then Success, our Black parent organization, and Pride, our Black student organization, will be hosting a Black History Month celebration where there'll be student and staff will be portraying important figures in Black history, and that'll be taking place on February 5th. And then us students at Naperville North wanted to give an invitation to the new principal. I'm not sure who you are yet. But wanted to give you an invitation to come to our air band, which is kind of like a North signature event. So you could really see what North's about and kind of jump into the culture at North. All right.
So as Bryce touched on, we have the Team 203 Special Olympics coming up, which is tomorrow. And it's at 7:30, which is really cool because the cash donations and they also collect canned foods to go to Loaves and Fishes, which is a great way to give back to the community. And also Central is advocating for this Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Days of Service. So the students can grab a swan it's like a paper swan from our student activities office. And on the swan, they write how they gave back to the community, like around the times, just to kind of promote to give back and volunteer as much as they can. And this is kind of our way of like helping inspire the students to show them that there are ways to give back and that they should definitely do it. We also have our boys track and field kicking off this week, so that's pretty exciting to look forward to. And Central also has their Link Crew applications out, which is like our old FMP. So this is awesome because now we have our new mentors coming in that are really going to help our freshmen get acquainted with the school. And finally, as you all may know, we have our summer school registration open to the students, so that can help the students like get ahead in classes and also touch up on classes that they might have not done so well in before.
Thank you so much. We always love the student's perspective. Thank you, thank you. Written communication for your perusal. It's in board docs. You can see what's in there. And with that, we'll go to student staff school report.
Great. Tim and team, if you want to work your way up to the podium here and get set, I'll turn it over to you in just a minute. I have a few quick things. First, loaded in board docs for the community's review is a tentative board planning calendar. Again, I'd call your attention to the fact that this is tentative, and we're looking at just kind of giving a preview to the community on events and items for discussion at upcoming board meetings. And so we have tentative topics through April 20th. I will speak about another topic that we'll add to it in another report coming up pretty soon. Also, I'd just like to just report to the board that I attended Naperville Area Homeowners Confederation meeting on Saturday. Board Member Fitzgerald also attended. The Homeowners Confederation had invited our representatives who represent our community in Springfield to come speak about the upcoming spring session. Most notably, they were asked in their first scripted question to talk about Senate Bill 16. And I think the consistent message, and I think, Kristen, if I miss here, you can help me with it, but essentially was that they were grateful for the conversation about school funding to have begun, and all agree that it is time for that to happen. It's a conversation that needs to happen. We haven't significantly done anything with school funding since 1997, and it's time to really have the conversation. And it was a bipartisan group, granted, 5 Republicans and 1 Democrat, but they all agreed that Senate Bill 16 as presented was not what they wanted to see as a solution, that it needed some work. There was some debate and discussion over really where it stands right now, and I think the general feeling was that conversation is going to continue, but don't consider it to be dead. So we need to continue to monitor what our legislature is doing and the conversations they're having regarding funding this spring. So we'll continue to watch that closely and see how recommendations that they make may impact what we do. So I know as our Chief Financial Officer, Brad Kaufman, continues to build our projections and forecast that we will be paying close attention to that. Chris, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add.
The only thing I would add is that though SB 16 sort of expired with the previous legislature, it has already been reintroduced, right. SB 1. Though there's no legislative parameters yet, I think it's a shell bill, but it's right. SB 1. I mean, it's the first one dropped in.
It certainly communicates the intent of our state legislators to have a continued conversation about it. And then our 2 student ambassadors already acknowledged, and I wanted to also call attention to the Team 203 competition tomorrow night, and so wish the teams well. We have a Focus 203 engagement event. I'll be unable to attend, but we'll be there in spirit with Team 203, so good luck to that team. Okay, and now we're going to move to some staff reports, and the first one is going to be an overview on our intended schedule for park testing. As you know, we have been working through planning for the park testing as we get information from the state, and as soon as it becomes available to us, and then sometimes putting us a little bit in a reaction mode. But what I can say is that our 2 high schools have worked very closely with PSAC to really think about what's in the best interest of a testing environment for our kids to ensure that they do well. So we have looked at a number of different options and come up with a solution that we think is the best for the environment for our kids and thinking about learning continuing. So I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent for Assessment and Analytics, Tim Morenga, to kick us off.
Thanks, Mr. Bridges. Tonight we would like to update you on the new state assessment park and the logistics leading to the test. Joining me tonight is Jackie Thornton, Assistant Principal at Naperville Central. Got it. Just gave her promotion. And Michelle Chapman, Assistant Principal at Naperville North. The outcomes for this presentation are to provide an overview of park and to share sample schedules from the schools for the testing this spring. Illinois is in a consortium of states called the Park Consortium. PARC stands for the Partnership for the Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers. This is the first year that PARC will serve as a state assessment in Illinois. It replaces the ISAT at the elementary level and the PSAE at the high school level. Students in English 1 and grades 3 through 8 will take the PARC English Language Arts test, and students in Algebra 1 and grades 3 through 8 will take the PARC Mathematics test. In 2010, Illinois adopted the Common Core standards as the English Language Arts and Mathematics standards for our students. States began to consider how they would assess the Common Core through developing a next generation of assessments. The PARC Consortium consists of 12 states and the District of Columbia. All students in those states will be assessed on the Common Core through PARC. The assessment will be delivered both online and also paper and pencil in both mathematics and English language arts. The PARC assessment breaks out of the mold of former state assessments. It endeavors to be the assessment that is worth the time invested by providing context and problems worth the mental engagement. The results are designed to have meaning and to be delivered in a timely fashion. Presently, we get the state testing data near the end of the summer. In the near future, PARC will be able to be delivering the data to us by the end of the school year. Schools will be able to act on their data to improve student achievement. During the first year, the statisticians will need to analyze the results and set up the reports for teachers and parents, which will delay the delivery of the data this first year until next fall. But in future years, those reports could be ready to go home with the students by the end of the school year. Up until now, only students with IEPs and 504 plans had access to accessibility features on the state assessment. PARC is a new generation of assessments that include accessibility features for all. The amount of time allocated for each testing session includes the estimated amount of time that most students would take to finish the test, and then it adds automatically 50% more time. Time and a half allows our students to show what they know on the test without the pressure of time. Technology also provides the means to open doors that may otherwise be closed. If we know a student would benefit from being able to highlight a passage as they read, the test can provide it. In fact, all students can use a highlighting tool since they have access to technology. As staff partner with families to know each of our students, we can help our students demonstrate their knowledge on a new generation of assessments. Delivering assessments using technology has certain advantages over traditional paper and pencil tests. PARC employs a concept called technology-enhanced items. So instead of relying solely on traditional multiple choice items where the student selects the correct answer from, for instance, A, B, C, D, and E, the test can ask a deeper question with multiple options. For example, this sample item taken from the 7th grade PARC Mathematics practice test asks the students to look at 2 graphs and 2 charts and ask a question about speed. A traditional multiple choice question may only ask the student to choose the option with the greatest speed. This technology-enhanced item asks the students to arrange the 4 options in order from greatest to least by dragging and dropping the options to the boxes on the right. So since object A has the most distance covered in a given time, it would be first. Object B would be the next. Since object D shows more distance covered in the given time than option C, it would then be the next choice, with object C being the last. PARC has 2 summative assessments as part of its assessment suite. The performance-based assessment, or PBA, will consist of more complex writing tasks and multi-step math problems. These assessments are given approximately 3/4 of the way through the school year so that they can be submitted online but then graded by the end of the year. The end of the year assessment, or EOY, will be given approximately 90% of the way through the school year and will employ selected response problems and technology-enhanced items. Each assessment will take approximately the same amount of time as previous state tests, which will result in a net gain in time necessary for state testing. The PBA and EOY will be combined for the overall PARCC score. There is a variety of practice tests online, and every year PARCC will release the test for training purposes. We would like to share some of the logistics for spring testing. This will include the ACT and our sequence of assessments to prepare students for the ACT and PARCC. I will turn it over to Michelle to start.
Thank you, Tim. The PARCC test is not a college entrance exam. The ACT serves this purpose for our students. When we experience transitions to new assessment systems, in this case PARCC, it is necessary to continue preparation for older assessments. All right. In this case, our older assessment is the ACT. The Explore and Plan tests are ACT prep tests. We gave our 8th graders the Explore test this fall. This spring, we will give our 9th graders the Plan and our 10th graders a retired ACT test. Our staff uses this data from the test to understand the needs of our students. Starting next month, our schools are scheduled to conduct practice tests with our students. Many teachers and schools have integrated PARCC practices into their regular instruction. The ACT will be the first statewide assessment given this spring, and it will be given on March 3rd. It is not a part of the official state test, but it is provided by the state so that all juniors have the opportunity for this college entrance exam. The first portion of PARCC, the Performance-Based Assessment, or PBA, will be given in March. The second portion of PARCC, the End-of-Year Assessment, or EOY, will be given in late April or early May.
Thanks, Michelle. There are 2 sections of the PARCC test, the performance-based assessment referred to as PBA and the end-of-year assessment referred to as EOY. Combined, these make up the PARCC test. Since these assessments are given on an iPad, a Chromebook, a laptop, or a desktop computer, we need to stagger the testing at different levels in order to ensure our technology department can deploy support to each site. The high schools will be the first to test in each of these testing windows in order to account for the other testing windows such as ACT and AP testing. The junior highs were given the next assessment window to choose their actual assessment dates from, and then the elementary schools have the last portion of the window. We have some sample assessment schedules that will help illustrate the logistics involved. Jackie will start by sharing about the high school schedule.
In order to balance the need to provide an ACT preparation experience with PARCC testing requirements while minimizing the impact on classroom instruction, we developed a schedule similar to that used for the Prairie State exam in the last several years. This is a schedule the high school community is familiar with. We began to discuss schedules for PARCC last spring. At Central, we gave the performance-based assessment field test to our freshmen last March. We scheduled all 3 ELA tests on one day and then surveyed the students on their experience. This fall, we have been corresponding with neighbor districts on their ideas for schedules. Michelle, Tim, and I put together several sample schedules and gathered feedback from both high school leadership teams as well as from the superintendent's cabinet. While every schedule has drawbacks due to the impact on instruction, we weighed the pros and the cons for each schedule and came up with a schedule that we believe is the best one for our students. You will notice an all-day approach in the March schedule similar to that used for the PSAE. On March 3rd, we will give the ACT to juniors and the PARCC Math Performance-Based Assessment for students enrolled in Algebra 1. On March 4th, the sophomores will take the Practice ACT, and freshmen will take the PARCC ELA Performance-Based Assessment. Students who are not scheduled to take a test on these 2 days will not be in attendance. In April, we take a late arrival approach since we do not have to adjust to scheduling around ACT testing. This late arrival schedule allows us to give PARCC end-of-year assessments in a secure testing environment while ensuring all students can attend all 8 periods each day. PARCC end-of-year testing includes 2 sessions of ELA and 2 math assessments. The late arrival schedule will require a second busing run, but this schedule provides a secure testing environment while allowing classes to meet each day. Since AP testing comes in early May, it is an advantage to have all students in attendance for each class each day.
Thanks, Jackie. Our high schools are course-based in their schedules, meaning that we have all students in English 1 and Algebra 1 take the PARCC assessment. In mathematics, we could have a mix of grades. The assessment in elementary and junior high, though, are grade-based tests, so that the schedules in the school that they have created are similar. So as you look at this sample schedule, it could be replaced by an elementary schedule for grades 3 through 5. In these schedules, you will see that we have staggered the grade levels so that we can rotate students to the computer in either the morning or the afternoon sessions. The ELA test has 3 sessions in March and only 1 or 2 sessions in May. This sample schedule shows how a school day could rotate the students to take the test in March over 4 days, bringing the total number of testing days to 7. It is important to realize that though the individual student would only be involved in testing maybe on 5 of those days, each of these testing sessions would usually take only about 60 to 90 minutes of their day. PARCC Online is a resource we use for our staff and students. It has parent, staff, and student information, and it also includes practice tests that our community can take. We will now take your questions.
Susan?
Yeah.
Susan?
So I apologize if I hadn't tracked some of these things, and some of these questions are pretty elementary. I wasn't, don't remember knowing, and maybe I did, so I'm not blaming anybody, but that we were retiring Explore and Plan as part of this. My understanding of Explore and Plan is that we developed a real program around those to move kids through to identify where they might need some support, the kinds of classes that they can take. And there was a lot of work put into that. And now we're sort of removing that after all that work that was put into it. And my impression was that it was successful, that we felt very good about it. And now we're moving to PARCC, which is a huge investment of time, not only for the kids who are going to be taking the tests, but all of your time and other staff time to align with that. Why are we doing that?
First of all, I need to clarify. On the slide I put that it was a retired test, but those are actually because they're ACT no longer produces those.
The Plan or Explorer?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So we have purchased those, and actually to agree with what you're saying, we do value that preparation for that college entrance exam, and so we purchased in preparation for that enough retired tests so that we could give it to all an entire grade level at both schools, and then continue that sequence. As long as we don't know how the data comes back, we'll be watching to see how that comes. But for now, we say that's very important for our students to prepare. We're going to continue that.
So they're going to, that's a lot of testing we're putting our kids through, too. I mean, and PARCC is not, oh, the state is doing it with the state, so they were retired. So the state is requiring it. So, but they're not requiring Explore and Plan.
Correct.
That's correct.
So
benefits our kids.
what are the benefits of this for our kids?
We do agree that the amount of time on testing is a concern, and that's part of our entire look at trying to balance our assessment system as well as our communication with through different organizations, through where both Michelle and Jackie work with the different schools in the area, and then I work with curriculum directors and assessment directors to communicate that we have a concern about the amount of time testing. The benefit is that we have a very strong alignment between our Common Core standards that are the state standards and the state assessments. So now one assessment system can show growth for our students throughout all the way through high school, rather than having one system for our elementary and then going to a different system for the high school. And as you mentioned, the prep for the ACT is important because that is actually the college entrance exam. PARCC is not designed to be a college entrance exam. It might help in the future with placement in colleges for courses, but at the present time it is not a.
So maybe here part of your question is why both? If
Why both,
the
yeah.
state's requiring us to move
Yeah.
to PARCC, why not just that? And I think you partially answered.
Well, and he partially
right.
answered, too. This is, the ACT is a college entrance exam.
And because
the
it's,
reality
right,
is
in a
that-
time and a year of transition where we're not sure really what the PARCC results are going to tell us, we think it's important that we hold on to that kind of pathway, I guess, lack of a better way to describe it, of assessments where we know what we're getting and we know our staff at the schools know how to think about how to work with their students based on what that data tells them.
And I appreciate that you're having conversations with area staff, and I know that that's a concern for you. It's certainly a concern for me, and I think, you know, it's a concern for teachers, and just, you know, we are over-testing our kids, and I don't want to talk about national education anymore because there is no such thing. I mean, we, you know, because, and especially in Illinois, you know, the way we're funded, the local districts, it's just a difference in who our kids are, and that increase. So I really feel like we need to focus on our kids and do what's best for them.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
As you say, statewide, we've been communicating that with the State Board of Education as well as with legislators about the really concern about the amount of testing that's being placed on kids. And in some ways, we have seen some response favorable by the State Board of Education. So, for example, there were going to be tests of English 1, English 2, English 3, and the same math sequence for all of those students after responding to concerns about the amount of testing, especially the juniors would have between the PARCC, ACT, AP testing, and course exams, and all of those things at that time of the year just seemed overwhelming. That's when you'll recall the state came out and gave us a week to make a decision on whether to maintain the testing as recommended by the state for juniors, mostly juniors, or to choose a different course, which we chose, and based on feedback and input from our high school staffs, to really not put that much of a burden on the juniors who already had so much. And so we're going with the English Language Arts. It provides us a nice continuum of PARCC testing in 3rd through 8th grade, predominantly freshmen that will be tested. So they are responding somewhat, but not quite to a level that we would have hoped with a little bit more of a slowdown. There's a lot of concern regarding districts throughout the state and their ability to even administer the online assessment, the infrastructure. The state superintendent's report that he released today, one of the budget line items they'll be asking for in the upcoming budget is additional money for technology to support the infrastructure needs of districts throughout the state. So there's I think a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Well, I just, you know, and I am not representing the opinions of the administration of the Board of Education. It's certainly just mine. But if the state of Illinois, who funds less than 12% of our budget right now, and are looking at decreasing that amount where this community is supporting 90% or more of what the cost of education, I think that should be about the level of influence that they have on us then. And it's disproportionate right now, and I think they're reaching a tipping point. I mean, it's just not right that what they're doing financially, and then the dictate for what our kids, who are super special snowflakes, and I will go to bat for them every time, and they should not be able to tell us to do those things. I will step off my soapbox now.
So thank you so much for all your communication and the dates and everything. Maybe our student ambassadors can speak to this, but I know that there are students. Can we communicate to the students a little bit better, because I think that they're a little confused as to what testing they're doing and not doing, and I don't know if we've communicated to those who are testing, but the ones that aren't are affected schedule-wise too, and I think they depend so much on their planners that have it in writing. It would almost be beneficial to give them like old-fashioned, like a handout, so that they have it all written down instead of just an announcement.
I'm going to speak to that just a little bit. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
And part of it is our ability to communicate information that we have. So, for example, we have teachers who are teaching English Language Arts 3, and all year, assuming that they're mostly junior-age students, we're going to be assessed. And we have teachers teaching English Language Arts 1 or Algebra 1 thinking that students would not be assessed on a PARCC assessment. So as we get the information from the State Board of Education, I think we're being as timely as we possibly can and turning that around. But your point is certainly very valid. There's probably a freshman that I'm really familiar with that has no clue that he's going to be given 2 assessments later this spring.
And I'm sure that we've done a great job of communicating Viva Talk 203, but I think at the high school level, it's their responsibility to know and understand. And if we're doing it through a Talk 203, we can't depend on the parents to get that information to them, I think, in some ways. I think that they need to be handed it. They deserve that.
Thanks for outlining how you expect to alternate the hours of testing and the testing blocks. And it looks like you all have done a very good job trying to account for class time as much as you can, as well as trying to make sure that someone doesn't take the whole test in one day, because I can't imagine in that 9th hour that they're going to do as well as they did in the first hour. And that was my other question that I had. Is it 9 hours per block? Because I know you mentioned before the 9 hours. Was that 4.5 and 4.5, or is it 9 and 9 each time you give the test?
So, as an example, the first session, they're unequal.
Okay.
The first session for the high school is approximately 6.5 hours. That's the March testing. And then the May or the April testing is about 4 3/4 hours. So, if you think somewhere from 10 to 12 hours total time testing.
And how about for the elementary and junior high?
It's a little bit less at times. For instance, one of the feedbacks they got from us on the elementary side from the field test last year is they took out a whole session in the elementary 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade session. So that took out about 60 minutes of testing from them. Now, so you'll see their time range from 9 to 11 hours.
Total?
Yes, total.
Between the two different blocks. I noticed, though, that you put down a February practice. Is that on all levels? And do you expect to continue that after this first year, or is that just this year since it's new?
Let me speak for the lower levels, and then it was actually a suggestion. So, for instance, Madison, I attended, they had practice testing for all of their kids this past week.
Okay.
And that was because they used the Institute Day to kind of schedule an hour of testing for each of the kids and to have the kids go through that.
They did it on the Institute Day?
Yes. Not in the morning. It was
the
a
morning.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay. So they did the practice. Okay.
At the high school level, we have that practice testing will happen in Algebra 1 and English 1 classes. And we do see that as something that will be able to be phased out as students are accustomed to testing online. But in this first year, they need to be able to familiarize themselves with the accessibility features that they can now access in this technology-enhanced environment that they haven't had access to in the past. So the practice part of it is important for our students.
So you don't expect it to be lengthy or continuing, but for this first year, it's just sort of a familiarity thing.
Right.
Okay. So I just have to compliment all of you. I know that this has been difficult and that our state has been confusing. And, I thought I remembered that there were 24 states that were park states. Now we're down to 12. And even in those 12, I know that, for example, Chicago Public Schools, they're not ready to implement. So we do have to really, take our hat off that you all are ready to go as much as you can be, given the changing things that have gone, really, given the continuing changing directions. So thank you for that.
I know I've been sitting here listening to this for several years now. And you have the joy of having 3 board members that have juniors this year and a junior sitting here. I seriously cannot figure out what tests my kid is supposed to take, will take, is good, like that communications part. And like, if I'm sitting here and I look at these, I'm like, does that apply to him? Does that not apply to him? I don't know how the rest of the parents, I know we have great communications that you send out. I don't think this is really on the parents' radar.
I'll let Tim talk a little bit more to the 2 high schools, but that's, I think, an important distinction to make. If I have I have a 6th grader. It's a grade level based assessment for Park. That's easier to identify. I know as a 6th grader, this is what the 6th grader is going to take. But when we get into the high school assessments, and they're course specific, that for Algebra 1, do we have some seniors or any? We do. Okay, so we have freshmen through seniors that'll be taking that assessment. So that when it's course based, that are currently taking Algebra 1, that are now going to be assessed on this.
Honors, they're not going to take it.
If Tim, go ahead.
Well, we don't have an honors Algebra 1, but we have an
right.
algebra geometry class that we're going to include with that, so that the accelerated kids will take that.
Well, okay.
So we hear both of what you're saying. Tonight's conversation really is kind of an important launching pad now that we have settled with the state who is going to be assessed. We have clarity on the window of time that the assessment's going to happen. Now our conversation about the logistics of how we will do that will really serve as a great opportunity for Michelle Fragoso to work with our schools and our assessment office to communicate the logistics, and for the schools to target communication to the students that are impacted by this at their schools.
Well, they all are, right? Impacted? I mean, even the ones who aren't testing are impacted by the scheduling. So
They're impacted by the scheduling, correct. Mhm.
So on the technology aspect, so this is the first time through going for this test, and some of the states have dropped out. But how ready is Illinois as a state for the test across the board? I mean, so you have to have a lot of feedback to really test the validity of the test and get some good metrics for it. But how is the rest of the state ready?
And let me, again, I'd first of all like to start out by, again, thanking our technology department for the amount of preparation over the last 3 years. I mean, literally on the radar, working strategically to improve our infrastructure and then also prepare us for this time. What the state did earlier in the year is they did an infrastructure trial that schools participated in order to submit what kind of technology they have, what their infrastructure looks like, and actually this last month actually put a lot of kids or a lot of computers, no kids on them, into a practice situation to pound on the system to see how it would work. The state earlier this year took a look at the inventories that schools, we had to do an extensive submission of what our inventory is, and each district was given a percentage that they were allowed to of paper and pencil tests that they potentially could give the tests on. We are giving it, all of our students are taking it online because we believe that we can handle that, and also it's the experience we want our students to have. But Illinois, across the board, there are some districts that are only giving it online to like 20% of their students.
So it's going to vary across the state.
Yes.
That's because the state has funded so much in technology that they're able
That's
to do that.
correct.
Yeah,
So.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you so much.
So with that, we have an
Wonderful
aggressive communications agenda that we have to move forward with and get moving, and all the final preparations. Thank you, team.
Thank you, thank you. Next, we have a diversity update.
Yeah, quick update this evening. There's a number of documents that are loaded for you in board docs, but I'm pleased to give you a brief update on the work of the Diversity Awareness Committee. As you know, this is a committee made up of volunteers, which is comprised of District 203 staff members, as well as community members whose purpose is to discuss and provide input to the district on diversity initiatives. Since the last update, the committee has met twice, and the focus during the November 10, 2014 meeting was parent involvement and parent engagement. Our meeting started with a report from Naperville North High School parent Loren Francis. I notice Alwyn Francis is in the back here. Mrs. Francis and other Naperville North parents had worked closely with the North administration to identify ways to increase involvement among North parents, especially minority families and families new to North, through their Success program. And then after Mrs. Francis' report, committee members were asked to give feedback to us, the administration, on the following questions. What are the characteristics of successful parent engagement? What parental needs for engagement are not being met? And then what steps can schools take to meet those needs? And I'll talk in a minute what we'll do with that information. Our next meeting was on January 12th, 2015, and the focus of that meeting was on the school improvement plan process. Deputy Superintendent Kane Osborne and Assistant Superintendent for Assessment Analytics Tim Warenga presented information on the following: an overview of the continuous improvement cycle that we use for school improvement, parent insight or insight to the parents on how to read the plans and how to understand what's within those plans, identifying indicators common to many of the District 203 schools that leverage work for equitable outcomes, identify emerging indicators in 203 schools that leverage work for equitable outcomes, and then to develop tasks to be shared with principals in preparation for development of the 2015-2016 school improvement plans. So after their presentation of information, our participants were asked to give us information on the following. What tasks would they recommend that our schools do to promote equity and to help our school fully achieve the indicators in their school improvement plans, and then identify through elementary, middle school, or high school, and then they shared those. I will admit that I ran off to deal with a gas leak at Jefferson Junior High School as that meeting came to an end, so if Kane or Tim have anything that they want to add to it, I'll have them do so. But both the input from the focus on parent engagement and the school improvement plans will be shared with our school administration during one of our upcoming district leadership team meetings as we work on reviewing current school improvement plans as well as preparing for our next school improvement plans. In addition to the work of the Diversity Committee, I've shared with you just a framework of the professional learning that we're doing through what we call our Learning for Leaders this year. I'll have Dr. Hester speak a little bit more to the work that we're doing on equity walks as well as culturally responsive practices at a future meeting. Tim and Kane, unless there's anything you want to add, that's our update. Okay, questions?
Questions, comments? Thank you. Thank you very much. And our next report, enrollment.
Okay.
Enrollment update.
In board docs, you're going to find an enrollment summary for the first half of the school year. And I think as you see that enrollment is close to what we had projected coming into the school year. As you know, one of our Focus 2020 commitments is to acquire up-to-date demographic and enrollment projections that can assist us with continuing to accurately project our enrollment as we move forward. So you know, as accurate as we can be, our projections are critical in us planning for and distributing district resources. In December of 2013, just over a year ago, the board approved a contract with Dr. Charles Coffrin to complete an enrollment projection study. And last week, administration met with Dr. Coffrin to review the work to date and to begin finalizing the report for publication. Dr. Coffrin's report will include the following: an examination of the socioeconomic data in regard to the district that includes population diversity, home values, income levels, census, live birth data, as well as land use. An examination of data of approved developments within the districts, as well as planned and zoned use of land. Using this data, Dr. Coffrin's report will model the complete build-out of the district while integrating general timing for those new developments. And it will include projections for future student enrollment that incorporates historical enrollment data, live birth data, development activity, demographic trends, and other information that will assist us with our accurate forecasts. And the report will include an enrollment projection model using enrollments by grade and by attendance area. After consulting with Dr. Coffrin, District Administration plans to present the report to the Board of Education at its March 16th Board of Education meeting. And our presentation at that time will serve as an overview of the report and will highlight key information found within that report. And then Dr. Coffrin will be joining us on April 2nd at our Board of Education meeting to discuss the methodology and those findings in the report and to answer questions that I'm sure we'll all have regarding the report. So this, I know, is a very highly anticipated report and something that we're all looking forward to for planning. And we look forward to now having solid dates in the timeline to be able to share that report with you.
Comments or questions? Great information. Thank you for that update. Dan?
Well, congratulations. Despite it, you're only 1.3% off of projection. So pretty close.
Yeah. And I think, just I was, our team, Bob Ross, Kitty Ryan, Brad, and then Kane have worked very closely as we think about the amount of work and information that goes into the report that we're going to be getting regarding live birth data. And I think of the times that Bob Ross has spent at the Illinois Department of Health in Chicago, verifying actual attendance locations and birth information. We have a lot of information in front of us that I hope maybe that 0.3 can get even better. So
that's lofty. That's good. I do not have a report this evening. Are there any Board of Education reports? Thank you for your continued work, everyone, on getting to committee meetings and finding alternates. It's great that that's all happening, and everyone's busy and can make what they can make, and I'm grateful. So thank you so much.
Can I just say, I'd like to
Surely.
say thank you to Kristen for paying so much attention to what's going on in the legislature. She's really exercising her experience in that, and so being our, knowing what's going on as everybody is. So, but thank you as we keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on, I don't know what, right. Okay, so the monthly reports are listed here. Treasurer's report, investments, insurance report, and budget report. I don't know what just happened there. And with that, my colleague, Kristen Fitzgerald, did bills and claims this month, so I will ask her to speak about that and also to review the consent agenda. Okay, motion, thank you.
I move approval of warrant number 395036 through warrant number 395917, totaling $24,439,346.02 for the period of December 16, 2014 to January 20, 2015, along with items 8.01 through 8.04 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Bell, please.
Yench.
Aye.
Price.
Yes.
Fitzgerald. Aye. Wonky. Yes. Fielden.
Yes.
Romberg.
Yes.
Prati.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Our superintendent has something he'd like to add.
Bryce, I'm going to end your curiosity. How's that? Can we do that? Earlier, you were wondering who the next principal at Naperville North High School is going to be. Well, we had some important business, as we always do, in our consent agenda this evening. And I'll ask Stephanie Posey if you'll just maybe stand and just take a step forward. As part of the consent...
Hi, Bryce.
Oh, and then that's Steve Mathis. I think you're going to want to talk to him about that senior parking lot, maybe, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, as part of the consent agenda this evening, the Board of Education has approved the appointment of Stephanie Posey to be the next principal at Naperville North High School. Congratulations, and welcome to the District 203 family. So just a little bit about Stephanie, because she and her husband have about a 4.5-hour drive ahead of them this evening. Stephanie began her educational career in 1991 as a special education teacher in Thompsonville, Illinois. She has experience in Carbondale as a special education teacher. She's also experienced as a vocational coordinator and individualized education department chair in Belleville. Served as the associate principal at Belleville East High School, and since 2010 has been the principal at Belleville East High School in Belleville High School District 201 in Belleville, Illinois. She has a bachelor's degree in special education from Southern Illinois University, a master's degree in education administration from Southern Illinois University, and her educational specialist degree in education administration from Lindenwood University in St. Charles, Missouri. And we are excited to have her, and I know as we went through a pretty exhausting process, we thank her for the many trips that she's made north and look forward to years of service for her, and welcome to the District 203 family.
Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce my husband, first of all, who's been by my side during this journey, is Scott. Sure. He's hopefully going to drive me home here in just a little bit. But I'm honored to accept this position. I'm looking forward to being part of the 203 family. Naperville North High School is an incredible place. The more I visit, the more we feel at home in the community of Naperville, and especially in the Naperville High School. So I look forward to meeting with all of you and spending much time up here in the near future. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think with that, we should let you be excused and head. We need you to be safe. So leave when, I'm sorry?
Yes, please drive carefully.
Yeah, drive safely. We always want you to drive safely, but thanks so much. Welcome, welcome. With that, we'll go on to something that's always near and dear to all of us, and that is the school calendar and the draft calendar that our Deputy Superintendent discussed with us at our last meeting, the 2016-2017 school calendar.
Yes, at the January 5th meeting, the board approved the criteria by which we would shape the calendar for the 2016-17 school year. A little bit off of our normal course, what you'll see before you outlined in the memo and then attached are actually two draft calendars. Normally what happens is the calendar committee, which has teachers, administrators, and a parent on it, meets in a timely enough fashion that we get to process the feedback from that committee and bring to you a calendar. We were able to process the feedback, but we were a week late because of the closure of school. And some great ideas, thanks, Mr. Bridges, some great ideas, which, by the way, pushed back this calendar 2 days, I'm just saying.
I'd like to think that I would get some at least support from my team. Yeah. Bad enough I've learned how creative Bryce can be. But.
So we did get great feedback from the committee, particularly our parent representative. And so through processing that feedback, I thought I'd go ahead and present two potential calendars, both of which meet the criteria that the board had set forth. Getting your feedback tonight, we then will go to the district leadership team next Monday and start to get their feedback. It'll remain essentially the same unless something drastic happens before the February 5th meeting. Then we go to the home and school group that following Wednesday and finalize the feedback. And based on all of that, we will bring you a draft calendar to recommend at the February 17th board meeting. And of course, just as it's noted in the bottom of the memo, these are always tentative. For instance, after we get feedback this year from how park goes, that could affect how we look at the calendar, and certainly other factors, statutory, legal, regulatory, that come up might cause us to review the calendar at any given time that would then have us change it. And with that, I can take any quick questions, or yes.
This shocks you. So with the recent days off of school, I've been asked several times that some districts do build in snow days. Was that at all a discussion, or has that been any part of
Can you speak to, what do you mean by how they build them in?
Well, there's all sorts of different ways. Like they have half days that don't necessarily, like they bump teacher learning days different places based on if they have days off. So the calendar still ends on the same day for the students, but not necessarily for the teachers. I'm not saying that's fair or unfair, but I'm just curious if you've thought of it, because the last couple of years we've had several changes.
One of our blueprint commitments is to really look at how we structure and use the school day. So based off of just the direction and the criteria that the board had established, we didn't look at making significant changes right now. And I think that's another important reason why Kane made the point about this being tentative. Other factors could change it. That is something we've informally talked about, but not has gone to the committee as a recommendation yet.
Okay.
Well, I know when people have said that to me, and I know people are in districts where they do that, and I think the challenge is, what I like about the end of the year is we're very clear that those 5 days are there. And in fact, these calendars say, don't plan anything because these could be the last.
We've tried to do a better job of communicating that
And
this is part, we give them away if we don't need them, as opposed to adding them if we need them.
But if you have days like, let's say we were going to have a holiday, like President's Day, which I think we could probably, but for our college-bound students, I know, in fact, my daughter is going this time to do some visits at a college. If that got changed, that would change for her.
Right.
And so you can't schedule those kinds of things during the year. So, I mean, it's half of one, and, I don't know, I can't remember. Anyway, it's, six of one, half dozen another. It's 8 o'clock. So there's that.
To echo what you're saying, one of our neighboring high schools had exams on that day. So they added that back as a weather day. Imagine. So now people have things planned for that MLK weekend. They're off on Friday. So it was incredibly problematic for not only recreation, but going to look at schools and doing all sorts of things. And they added that back as a day. It's an exam day. It's not a day you can't be there.
Right.
So I loved to watch that play out because that didn't work out real well. That just didn't work out real well. So yeah. Anyhow, Sure. Are there questions?
Okay. I had a question on the Christmas or the winter holiday break. That was kind of the biggest difference. What was the discussion around that?
The discussion was, one, having 3 weekends over break as something that's possible. Two, and this goes to the other side of it, was the parent representative and the others there felt that the 22nd wasn't too late, but that's why we take it to other stakeholders to get feedback on that issue. But in constructing it, being able to balance out the semesters, have, in this case, an 86-day first semester, which is on the longer end of the ones that we've been able to construct, those things together, spoke to it being worth looking at. Certainly that 22nd date is something that we have to get more feedback on as to, is that too late? How does that work for families in the community and so forth?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think in a couple years ago, we went almost all the way up to the 23rd, I thought. I don't think we've done that. I think what's common with this calendar, this version 2, versus what we currently have is that we usually have that whole week off as opposed to coming back midweek. That would be more commonly what we have done in the past.
Correct. And the 15-16 calendar, which is similar, comes back in the middle of the week. A calendar like this is only going to fall for a couple more years or things like it. So that was part of the conversation, is being able to get that out of this calendar. Is it worth looking at getting that out of this calendar or not?
Well, and the interesting thing, too, when you look at the calendars, there have been years, many years ago, where there were split weeks. You do lose a weekend, and you can espouse family values and doing all these things with families. But the interesting thing, when I looked at the calendars, we usually have 10 school days off, 2 calendar weeks. Now we've added to it. So now there's 11 days
There's an
off in
11th
version
day
2.
off, yeah.
There's an 11th day off, which you say, well, that's great, but you're talking to this great team up here about testing. Oh, well, don't worry about it. We'll give you another day off. So I'm not, it's an imperfect science calendar. So, and I certainly appreciate family time and having that extra weekend and all that good stuff. So but I needed to point out that it is an extra vacation day. So.
Well, I was interested. I think, if I recall correctly, we've had snow days that first week back before. And while I'm leery of suggesting that we schedule around the weather because it's so unpredictable, if this is a new weather pattern, which again is impossible to predict, but it has happened a few times, it might make sense to have that first week of January, which tends to be a little bit colder, because we could lose those days anyway.
That
So
was my
maybe it makes
favorite
sense.
thing about version 2.
That's your what?
That was my favorite part about version 2, is that it did take care of
some of those days.
That traditionally, although not guaranteed to be, frigid first week. Yeah. A recent tradition.
Questions? It's quite a task you have. So good luck with that. Donna? Go ahead, Mike.
You keep on saying, I just want to make sure we're all clear. They're not getting an extra vacation day. It's just in a different place. They're going to school the same amount of days, because you were talking about testing days and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, I thought
Yeah, so
there's an extra,
Yeah, but obviously
It's not taking out of it.
It's at the end of the
It's
year.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that
same
was
number.
clear.
That's a good point to make. Same number of instructional days, same number of, yeah, exactly.
And the other question I had was, are you looking for any input from us, or?
Absolutely.
I like the second one.
So, no, not vote. I just want, because I see both sides of it. As a previous high school teacher, I think it's interesting to see that you're going to split final exams on the one over a weekend. And so I don't know if that was brought to...
It was, and
Okay.
that's, again, we do take it to our principals, and we'll get feedback.
Okay.
And that can go, having been a high school principal, that goes to two sides. One is
Right.
continuity, but the other one is I have a weekend to study for some
Right.
additional tests.
Right.
And
So that's why I said I see both
yeah,
sides of
right.
it.
So, but we'll get some more detailed feedback regarding that.
The other feedback, and I'd be interested, not today, but after our student ambassadors get to see it too. The other feedback, and I'm not sure which one I like, but just thinking back to coming back for a full week of school can be, like, I know that the feedback that I got from having our couple of days off was that it was a nice ease back into after having 2 weeks off. And so that being said, I think I almost like the 3 weekends, but I think that there's advantages to both. So I would...
Yeah, both of these meet your criteria. Both of them are good calendars. So we just are welcome for the details of the feedback that we can get, and we'll
I
come
would
back
like
with
to-
the best recommendation we have.
I would like to hear from our students.
Principal's gone.
Your old principal and your new principal are gone.
But what Miss Wanke was saying about having like a time period between the finals, giving like a couple extra days to study, I could see that being nice. And then, like she was saying, with kind of easing back into school, I know it might sound a little like deal with it type of thing, but like it honestly it was nice ease back into school after that long break. So I could see that being beneficial for students.
I kind of see it the opposite way. I think that like if you put finals over kind of a weekend, I mean the reality of it, students aren't going to study the entire weekend. It's just not realistic. But and like you study on like that Monday, you know, so you have all that fresh in your mind, and then you go into it right in that week and you get it over and done with. You don't extend that like kind of stress and like pain over the whole weekend, which is not very fun. So
Thank you.
Clear as mud, Kane, for the committee? Clear as mud for the
Clear as can be.
Do you know- what
like
did you say?
Both
Susan had the
two
correction.
really good calendars. Just remember.
Wait, Susan had a correction. I did like version 2. I was incorrect.
yeah, of
Sorry.
course.
Yes.
Okay.
Kane, and seriously, on a serious note,
Uh-huh.
how does our little world, our 203 world, and our calendar committee, how does that affect the Park District, 204, our parochial schools that we're helping bus? I mean, it's great. I know we have to do what's best for our kids, but as our kids are off and they need these supplements and supports other places, this doesn't change. Spring break is still kind of unified.
Yeah, spring break is still in the same place it's always been, and that's pretty much what. And remember, the county sends out a recommended calendar,
Right.
and this goes very largely with that. And spring break's one of those almost inviolable parts of that recommended calendar. Certainly, for instance, the issue of childcare was brought up about, is a midweek better or not, or if you have a half day in one of those early days, is that a problem because it might be easier to just schedule for a whole week and get continuity of care for some families who have to work? No definitive answer, but that was part of the conversation.
Yeah. Good.
So.
Any other comments or questions? As I said, good luck with this, Kate.
Good fun.
Our next agenda item, schedule of events, and as our superintendent mentioned, tomorrow night, digital learning, for everyone that's interested, the same future focus format, an evening and then a morning format. And tomorrow night, it is at same place, same location, right? Grace Church, I'm sorry, Naperville Central, and then in the morning at Grace Church on Thursday morning, sorry. Any other comments about anything on the agenda coming up? And thank you. Oh, and our board secretary, can we add, are we still doing rain date for commencement? I want everyone to secure. So commencement's on Wednesday, May 20th. And we need to secure the 21st too, though the weather will be fine. I don't mean that. I'm not suggesting if you plan, you don't have a problem.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So we just need to add that. And
I thought that they had done something where the rain date was going to be the same date. Like they have like
Rain or shine?
Yeah.
There has been some
Yeah, so-
conversation,
okay.
but until we can really have a more
Okay.
broad conversation, we're going to stay with the same plan. And I think that's like the calendar. I think we have one school whose preference is one way and the other school's the other way.
Oh,
so
that.
we want to talk, we kind of better understand that. So for as of now, both have the same plan. I'm getting the affirmative nod from Mr. Ross,
And you
same
need
as last
to,
year.
you with a graduate, Donna, need to make sure you have both nights open. So thank you,
I had a quick
Ann,
question
for adding
about
that to the calendar. Yes.
When is our organizational meeting? I know the election is April something, and then we have an organizational meeting, and that schedule has changed, hasn't it? Has there been some change in the schedule?
Let
It
us
has to be
confirm
within?
that and check on it and get back to you.
Okay.
It's
It
so
should
many
be the first
days
in May,
until
right.
the
Right.
count is, usually it's the first meeting in May. That's usually what it is, depending, but it's all a numbers count, as Ann, it's all a numbers.
The county sends it to us, so we have no choice.
Right.
Right,
It's
it's
the
just
numbers.
helpful to know, yeah.
With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much, and we will see you for the first meeting in February. Thank you, everyone.